As part of university, I've created a script about a homeless man living in the streets of New York City who signs up for a strange drug trial before slowly discovering the sinister intentions of the pharmaceutical clinic. I've done some research into other films to find methods I want to utilise so one day I can create my film. The film begins with a homeless man called Jack sorting out his very few possessions in a dark alley. He finds a leaflet for a drug trial promising food and shelter in return. On his way, he is warned by a homeless woman not to enter, but Jack ignores her. As he signs the paperwork in the clinic, he notices strange and sinister details about the staff and the building. The film ends with Jack being tied down drugs against his will, while the receptionist repeats the process and gives out more leaflets. It is important to me that there is contrast between the streets of New York and the clinic, as I want to have an underlying theme about desperate people being taken advantage of. To create this, I want to use a mixture of colour contrast, editing techniques, and have characters be portrayed in different ways. Films like City of God and Bicycle Thieves chose to use locals and non-actors instead of professional actors. I find this method interesting because the local non-actors can give personal insight on how their character would react and adapt to their situation. Vagabond was a massive influence for me because the writer and director, Agnes Varda, chose to have the main character be performed by an actor, but also cast locals to play smaller roles. I like this approach of mixing actors and non-actors, so I wanted to have a former homeless man play the homeless protagonist. This is so he gives a performance that would accurately show how a homeless man would live in the streets. The second act will take place in the clinic, with the creepy and uncanny staff members. To get an authentic reaction, I want the staff to be trained actors and have the non-actors kept separate from the rest of the cast, so when they meet for the first time, the homeless man's reactions will be authentic. This idea came from the filming of It, where the children never saw Pennywise until it was time to film. With both of these methods, I think the non-actors can give an accurate representation of life as a homeless man, but also show genuine fear and concern when he knows he is being tricked and taken advantage of. In Vagabond, Agnes Varda decided to go location scouting herself to understand the struggles of the environment and meet the people who lived there. This research helped her when writing the film because she can understand how her protagonist would have travelled. I think this approach made me enjoy the film more, so I want to replicate this in the first act of my film. I'm going to go scout and film on the streets of New York as I feel it will be difficult to recreate the New York atmosphere on a small budget, but it will also allow me to learn what dangers and problems homeless people would encounter. For the clinic, Severance was an important influence because you feel as if the real world and the office building are part of different worlds. The uncanny atmosphere of the office is similar to the atmosphere I want to have in the pharmaceutical clinic, so I am going to have minimal props, furniture, and have the room painted pure white to contrast with the darkness of the outside world. There are two separate locations for my film, the streets and the clinic. I want to make sure that there is a strong contrast between both of these settings, and to do this I'll edit them in separate ways. For the streets, I'm going to vary my shots with close-ups and quick cuts. In addition to this, I'm going to have lots of diegetic sound until it's almost overwhelming. This is to show the chaos of the streets and to be a contrast to the clinic. The clinic will contain a lot of long takes with minimal sound. This is because I want the audience to focus on the characters. I feel this method will be able to accurately show Jack the homeless man is out of place and uncomfortable with his surroundings. This should make the audience realise that the clinic and its staff are not as they seem, which will create some tension for the audience and between the characters. In conclusion, I think between all three methods, I can create a film that has great visuals and a protagonist that is both interesting and accurate to their real life counterpart. In addition, I hope that people will understand the underlying message through the acting and the locations.